Happy Wednesday. I'm excited to be back here this week. We've got a beautiful rainy day here in Melbourne. So if you are hopping on live, come and say hello in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm excited to share today's topic. I know that it's something that has really affected me for many, many years. And I'm super excited to share with you today. And we're talking today about limiting beliefs, and especially limiting beliefs for most of us women who might have, we've been through a lot in life. Maybe you set in your ways, or maybe you just at a space where currently you know that there's more to life for you. Maybe you're going through some form of crossroads in your life. Maybe the children are leaving home, or maybe you dealing with an illness or recovering from an illness. There might be just a change coming up in your life. Maybe you're changing careers, or maybe you've been stuck in a career for so long and you know that there's something better out there for you, and you need to make a change. So many of the women that I work with, and many of the women who currently interact with me, have really expressed that this year they want to start making a shift. Maybe they just don't know how. Maybe this is just something that they've always known deep down, that there's something more for me, or maybe it's just a new realization for you, right? So if you're new to this video, thank you so much for joining. My name is Stell, and I am a mentor, a healer, a yoga teacher, and wellness coach, and I'm the creator of the Align and Power program for women who especially recognizes that they have potential for more, but they might find themselves stuck, uncertain, they might lack motivation, or they just don't know even where to start. And today I wanted to really share with you how we can get out of that rut. If you want to really see potential and movement out of the space that you're in and moving forward, we need to make sure that we release our limiting beliefs about ourselves in this moment, right? And I can tell you, so many times I have felt this particular yearning for more, or wanting to make a difference, but I didn't have the motivation, or changing what I do in this world and how I contribute, and moving from a corporate world into helping women strive to be their best. That I didn't wake up like that. That was years and years of yearning to create something better for women, and to years and years of getting out of my own way, and struggling with my belief systems and the things that kept me aside. Because it's easy to make a to-do list, and it's easy to say, well, these are the changes I want to make. And last week, if you listen to that session, we talked about the manifesting mistakes we might be making. So this week, this is a little bit of an extension on that, and we're really getting deeper into understanding, well, why am I always stuck, and why do I feel like I'm always going in loops? And the reason for that is mostly because we have programmed ourselves like that. We have either been programmed by ourselves, or we've been programmed by society. We've been programmed by a story that might not be a story, it might be an event that has created a story or meaning about you, and that story and meaning started building a belief around you, your capabilities, your worthiness. Everything that we do in this world is based on our beliefs, right? And I like to call this our wiring in the brain, right? Because our beliefs affect how we think, our thoughts affect how we feel, and our emotions affect how we behave, right? So if we think that we are not worthy of something, or that it's, change is not for me, I'm just going to have to stay here and stay stuck, right? That comes from a story, right? And that story is created. Why? Because we have a belief around that. And the belief might be, well, change is not for me, it's for everyone else. I'm not deserving of it. I'm not qualified enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have is such a good indication that you are connecting into a story created by a limiting belief, right? So if we want to create change in our lives, and I know as women, we want to make change in our lives, whether it's for ourselves or whether it's for other people. I wanted to make changes for myself initially, and then I was inspired to start making and helping other women change their lives as well, right? So we start by maybe that small little desire of, I want some form of shift in my life. Maybe it's the tiniest thing. Maybe it's just changing your routine or starting a new habit. But whatever it is, there is a small desire, and especially if you've been doing the same things for many, many years, or there's been a change in circumstances, we know that change is inevitable, or we know that we want to make a change for ourselves so that we can evolve, so that we can feel empowered, so that we can feel like we have purpose and meaning in our lives, right? And so we might have that small little desire, but remember, if you listen to last week's chat, I talked about the body and brain not wanting change, right? So we're going to come up with resistance. And the first thing that is going to come up for you are your limiting beliefs. Now, a limiting belief is a belief that you think probably almost every single day. It's so in your subconscious that you don't even realize that it's there. And a limiting belief is something that's blocking you, keeping you stuck from moving. And maybe this belief has kept you in circles going round and round for years and years and years without change, right? So we need to unblock our limiting beliefs if we want to move forward with anything. If you want to create change in your life, if you're setting new goals or new habits, you need to identify, and last week I talked about this, the shadow work. And the shadow work starts with the beliefs we have about ourselves. Right. So I wanted to chat to you today about 3 beliefs that I see mostly the women in my space, the woman who I deal with on a daily basis. They, in either their late 30s, towards their 50s, they've been around the block for a while. They set in a career, set in a routine, and very often the same beliefs crop up for the women that I end up working with, right? And maybe you are not in that age criteria. I'm not trying to set a limit on when these beliefs might come up for you, but these beliefs will crop up for you somewhere along the line, and maybe you can recognize them. And I'd like to, if you can, pop in the comments as we go along which belief you recognize within yourself. And sometimes this requires honesty, right? So one of the first beliefs that I normally identify, and I've seen this so much in myself, is the I am too old or I am too young belief, right? So I am too old to make a change in my career now, or I am too old to start a new hobby or a new habit, right? Um, Very often that's just what we say to ourselves. And I actually watched this really, really inspiring movie the other day, and I am going to kick myself because I can't remember the name of the movie. But the movie is about this Olympic swimmer who crosses, she swims, gosh, now I can't even remember, but she swims this incredible distance that she cannot even, it's never been done by anyone, right? And I think it was from swimming from Cuba to Florida. I think that was it, right? And so she attempts this in her in her 20s. She's at the peak of her career, and she nearly dies during that swim. However, she doesn't complete it, right? So she decides that, she was going to retire anyway, so she stopped swimming. And then in her just before her 60th, she decides that she wants to go back and finish what she started. And everyone told her, well, are you sure? You haven't been training, you're out of your prime. And so she's like, yes, I want to do this. I want to make this change, and I want to start, this process, and I am going to finish what I started. And it's a beautiful movie, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but, eventually she actually finishes the swim. And I get goosebumps hearing and speaking about this, because she didn't just do it on her first attempt. There were a few attempts. Often she had to stop because she nearly died. But eventually she makes it, right? And one of the first things, she climbs out of the water. There's a massive crowd waiting for her. And the first thing she says is, never put a limit on what you can achieve, right? And second of all, you are never too old to achieve your dreams, right? And this can be in the opposite direction as well. You're never too young to achieve your dreams. So identify that little story as a limiting belief. And when we create that belief, we start creating self-doubt. Oh my gosh, I am too old to learn something new. And when we get into that energy, we limit ourselves for new experiences, because that's almost saying, well, why bother even trying, because I'm too old or I'm too young. Other people are much younger than me, they have more stamina, or whatever the case is. So maybe this is not for me. Let someone else give this a go, right? So what happens when we tap into that story and that belief, right? The emotional impact is we might feel frustrated or constrained by age-related expectations of ourselves and from society, right? Who's to say that you cannot achieve what you want and what age you need to start at, right? There is no, or actually one of my spiritual coaches said to me, Stell, there are no rules, right? There are no rules as to when you can start and when you need to finish. As long as you still have breath, there is no limit to when you can start and make change in your life, right? Often also we tap into regret. We might regret not starting something sooner. We might regret missed opportunities, time lost, and maybe still holding on to regret into, well, I'm too old, but I really want to make that change. I really want to make a shift, but I'm too old. So I'm just going to live with that regret for the rest of my life, right? And what this does for you energetically is we start holding on to those emotions, the frustration, the regret, right? And when we hold on to frustration and regret, we are living in negative emotions, right? So we are blocking positive flow of energy into our bodies and into our minds and into our emotions, right? So when we do that, we're tapping into lower frequencies of energy. And lower frequencies of energy is not going to get you where you want to be. It's going to keep holding you where you are, which is probably where you don't want to be, which is going to create more regret and more frustration, right? So we need to start moving around that. We need to start creating a new story. And I've already mentioned, you are not too old, you are not too young. Age has got nothing to do with change, right? We need to move past that belief because it's going to hold you back forever. The second one is, I don't have time, all right? And time scarcity is probably one of the first things that we kind of look at when we want to make change, right? So maybe in order for us to shift, we need to invest time, maybe money, some energy into where we want to go, right? And one of the first things that what might hold us back is the I don't have time. And I can so relate to this because time for me is very valuable, and very often the very first things that will pop into my mind when I'm trying something or bringing something is do I have enough time, right? And if there's any doubt in my mind that I do not have enough time, then very often the first thing that I would do is write it off as well. It's not something that I can, create because there is just not enough time for this, right? The thing is, there will never be time, my love. We will always stay where we are if we don't invest that time in what we want to create, right? So time scarcity will always be a thing if we make it that, right? But if you had to start just saying, well, I might have limited time, notice that change of wording, but what can I actually create in that limited time that I have? And I might have limited time. Where can I find some more? And we all have more time. If you look at your social media scroll time, if you look at the amount of time you might be, sitting in front of Netflix, or the amount of time you might be wasting doing things that you don't love doing, the things that actually keep you frustrated and keep you in regret, but you'd rather keep doing those things because you believe you do not have the time, right? So how can you maybe multitask strategically if you need to, right? How can you effectively use the time that you have? Maybe you only have 1 hour to spend and invest in whatever you create, but how can you use that effectively so that you get the best results and you get the quickest amount of traction for where you want to go? And that's why, working with a mentor actually can help support you, because they can probably give you a few steps to move or create the time that you might need to move forward, right? So when we work with anything that feels scarce, and especially time, we are always going to feel stress from rushing and feeling pressure, right? it also adds in the emotional component of worry and anxiety. When we don't have enough time, or we feel like we don't have enough time to accomplish what we want, that creates anxiety. We know we want to be somewhere, but the emotional stuff that will pop up here is anxiety. And the next minute you might feel completely stuck where you are and you think it's your anxiety, but it was actually the belief that I didn't have enough time. Right? So we always have to look back at the belief that has created the emotion that we are feeling. Right? So energetically, when it comes to time, we are going to feel drained, right? Because we are constantly in a rush, we might be depleted in energy. And if we're constantly feeling like there is no space, that probably means we're already drained in energy and we need to do something about that, right? It's also going to create that disrupted flow of energy, right? When we're in flow, we can make change and we can create things, and we can use our time effectively. So let go of the I don't have time. Shift the wording to I do have time. It might be limited, but I do have the time. You do not want to be at the end of your life and wish that you have spent more time in making the changes that you want because you were doing something else that did not light you up, my love. All right, lastly, and this one is so common. I've left it for lucky last because I think we've all been in this situation, and that is the belief of I am not talented or I'm not smart enough, right? And when we start diving into this belief, very often it comes from comparing ourselves to others. But maybe you've compared yourself to someone who is talented and smart enough. And maybe you haven't realized that that person also doesn't feel like they're talented or smart enough, right? So you're comparing yourself to someone who feels exactly what you're feeling, right? And maybe, and here's the proof of the opposite of this belief. There are so many people with less talent or less intellect than you making the changes that you want in your life. Why is that? Because they just believed that they could. They did not let their talent or their intellect or their, degree of, learnedness or, studies or whatever hold them back. They took a step and they started and they achieved what they wanted, right? So stop comparing yourself to others. You are here to make an impact and you are here to shine your light. And you cannot let what you see around you about others or your perceived ideas about your talents or your intellect or your education hold you back. Those are things that you can go and obtain if you need it. But mostly, if we want to make a change in our lives, we can start making that without achieving the talent or the, gaining the education or the whatever we need to learn in order to do that, right? So don't let that hold you back, right? Because that questions our abilities in everything. If I'm not talented in one thing, then do I have talent in everything else? What is my potential, right? So we also tap into that fear of failure, right? Fear of not achieving because we do not have enough talent, right? But the fear that is holding us back from even trying is your biggest hurdle, right? So we need to make sure that we let go of that. Let it go. It's going to be hard because you'll probably be faced with that every single day. But these negative self-perceptions is going to block your energy, right? It's going to lead to low self-esteem, and it's going to lead to inaction, which is going to lead to more frustration, which is going to lead to emotional distress, negative thought patterns. And at the end of the day, we're not going to like who we are. We're not going to like who we've become. Maybe you feel like you are not yourself anymore and you don't even know why. But these are the reasons why. These are the reasons why you are stuck where you are and stuck where you maybe want to go. So that's all I wanted to give you today, my loves. If you wanted to explore this a little bit more, I'd love to invite you to take part in a free energy healing, energy reading session where we can actually start identifying maybe what's blocking you from moving forward and achieving the life that you desire. So, my loves, have a beautiful day. I'm going to pop the link for the energy reading just below this video. Come and join me, and I can't wait to see you again very, very soon. Have a beautiful day, my loves. Bye.